Hey everyone, and welcome to your much needed Emotional Intelligence 101 class with me, your friend and passionate teacher, Demi. I'll give you a bit of background because this is the first class. These emotion stuff can get very deep, so we need to have this bond and we need to connect and we need to understand each other. So I'm Demi, I'm in my late 20s. I'm a medical doctor in the UK. And I am passionate about this topic because even though I've had at least 20 years of formal education in the UK, I have trained to be a medical doctor, which requires some form of intelligence. Why do I still do silly things? And why am I still so immature in a lot of other aspects? I realize that the situations where I'm not acting my intelligent self or acting maturely is in moments where it involves emotions. Do you ever wonder why some people who are seemingly supposed to be very intelligent act in very non-intelligent or immature ways? They don't manage their emotions and they can't make good decisions or interact with people or communicate or build healthy relationships. Can you even think of one person in your life like that? Well, honestly, I don't blame them. If you actually think about in my 20 years of education, did I have any formal education to teach me how to deal with my emotions, how to manage them, and how to build my social skills? Honestly, I learned that we have roughly 400 emotional responses in a day. 400. If it's something that we have to deal with every single day of our lives, then shouldn't we know how to manage it? I'm passionate about it because I think it's something that we've really missed in our educational system. Just to highlight the importance of emotional intelligence, it's actually part of the curriculum in Harvard Business School. Harvard believes that emotional intelligence is 2 times more important than technical skills. And unfortunately, there's no emotional intelligence classes here that I can afford or that I can go to. So I took it upon myself to learn about emotional intelligence from experts and specialists. So I read a few books, I read some articles, I reflected on my experiences. I made this course and I put down all the information I thought was really interesting, things that worked in my life and things that may work for you. This course has 5 classes and you're in the first class. Yeah, I'll take you along the journey to improving your emotional intelligence from baby to toddler to teenager to full-grown mature adult. We'll go through all of the different components of emotional intelligence. It'll be fun. We can't tackle our enemies intelligently if we don't fully understand it. Let's understand EQ first before we can actually tackle it. Let's make it a little bit interactive. Let's do a little quiz. I know, it's a quiz. Why a quiz so early on, Demi? You haven't even taught us anything yet. But I think doing a little quiz at the start to see what your understanding is, I think it's a good way to learn so we can see our progress. Pop quiz question 1. How old is EQ and IQ? When do you think the idea of EQ and IQ was conceptualized? When was it created? When did we start finding out about them? Is it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago? So IQ was conceptualized by a chap called William Stern in 1912. I thought IQ was actually older than that, but yes, 110 years old. While EQ is roughly my age. EQ's been around for 30 years, roughly. It was popularized by another chap called Daniel Goleman. It was popularized when he released his book on emotional intelligence. I guess I kind of understand why people who are a bit older, they lacked understanding of emotional intelligence. EQ, or dealing with emotions, was not the norm or was not known. That's why people favored or people put more importance in IQ, because that's just what people knew. With more and more research and with time, people are realizing the importance of emotional intelligence. Pop quiz second question. Can anyone here define EQ and IQ for me? Yes. Perfect answer. Have you taken this class before? It's so good he's taken this class twice. Being emotionally intelligent is something that we'll tackle a bit more later on and divide the components, but it is your ability to recognize and interpret and manage your emotions, and also recognize and interpret other people's emotions and being able to manage it in a positive and healthy way. IQ measures the traditional intelligence. The traditional intelligence has been defined as your ability to learn numerical and verbal data. It includes skills like reasoning, logic, memory. So let's move on to pop quiz question 3. Which one do you think can be developed? EQ, IQ, or can they both be developed? Okay, well, let's talk about this. IQ, we've had formal education to try and build our IQ and improve it. IQ is actually very developed in most people. In your peer groups, you probably have similar levels of IQ. However, EQ is the least developed and can be so different in lots of people. One of the reasons is, as we said, we didn't have formal education. So where would we get our information then? And that is from our parents or people that we grow up with or people around us. Emotional intelligence wasn't even born before our parents was, learning, or it's something that hasn't been on the radar. Do you think our parents would be teaching us emotional intelligence? Probably not. If you think about it, have you ever been sat down and been told how to deal with your emotions, how to regulate them and manage them by your parents? Emotions weren't deemed important or was something that people focused on back in the day. Well, that's what I think are from my research. But again, any older students have any other ideas, they can comment below. Some people will then be thinking, oh my gosh, I've had such a traumatic childhood, or I didn't have anyone growing up, or I was surrounded by people who were very immature emotionally, and oh my gosh, I probably have a poor emotional intelligence. Oh no. Can it be improved? So to answer question 3, IQ, it can increase until roughly teens, but it usually stabilizes or doesn't change very much in adulthood. Your ability to learn stays roughly the same. All psychologists have mixed opinions on this. Some people believe that it doesn't change at all. Some people think it does. It can move very slightly. While emotional intelligence, they found, can actually change quite quickly, and it's a skill. So it's like learning a language or learning how to play the guitar. It's a skill that can be developed and improved even when you're older, no matter what age you are. It is something that we can improve. We'll talk about the neuroscience and emotions and how that works on the next class. The last one is part of the pop quiz, but it's probably a very leading question. But what do you think is more important, IQ or EQ? More and more research has shown that EQ is as important or even a bit better than IQ. So why is it more important? It's really interesting. So 30 years ago is very different to what it is now. If you think about it, there's been some immense growth in the way that we do things, the way that jobs work. And I know what you're thinking, the most advanced thing that's probably changed is everything going digital, right? I remembered having the Nokia brick phone when I was like 12, 13. And now we have iPhones, laptops, iPads, everything. It's getting more and more and more advanced. With immense growth, there is this thing that people talk about called VUCA, V-U-C-A, and it's just a term to talk about volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity, and C is complexity. And the world is just going to keep changing and we're going to keep growing. And with all of this, all the things I've talked about, it comes with a lot of emotions. So the World Economics Forum, they have this thing called the Future of Jobs Report. So they actually commented and said that emotional intelligence is needed in 90% of organizations. They believe that it is going to be more and more important as the years go on. And also, I looked at the 2023, so last year's top 10 skills. And if you look at the top 10 skills, at least half or more than half of the top 10 skills that they recommend involves emotional intelligence. There's also that thing with AI. It's getting more and more advanced. It's doing so many more things and people get scared. People get worried. People are like, oh, I have to compete with people. Now I have to compete with robots. But what makes us different from robots and what makes us stand out is our humanness. It's our ability to feel emotions. It's our ability to be human. And it's not going to be the IQ. I'm sure that AI robots or the future of tech will probably be better at keeping all that information and reasoning and being analytical and good with numbers better than us. But what will be very difficult for robots to do, or it'll take many more years to develop if that ever will happen, is our ability to have emotions, an ability to interact with people, to socialize, the ability to experience life and also share those life experiences with others. It's just the humanness of it all. Instead of trying to out-tech the tech, instead of trying to out-robot the robot, why don't we focus on something that we do have, our strength? Maybe it's not our strength at the moment, but something that we're going to develop, and it's our emotions, our emotional maturity. I want to be human, and I want to understand you, and I want to develop this relationship with you. And to do that, I want to understand what is it that you value. If there was one thing you want in your life right now, one thing you want to change, one thing you want to improve, what is that? Just name one thing. Think of one thing. I don't want to say mine, because once I say mine, you might be like, oh, yeah, that's mine too. Have a little think and then pause this video if you have to. But what is it that you really want to develop and what's very important to you right now? Now I'm going to talk about all the benefits of emotional intelligence that has been backed up by research. I want you to tell me in the comments, if you're brave enough, if you want to tell me what it is and whether it's included in this list. I have all the research and information that I've collected here just to make sure that I'm saying the right things. So, my friends, this is from the book Emotional Intelligence Habits. It was released last year, so it is a bit more caught up, and it was from Travis Bradbury. He talked about this article in the Journal of Applied Psychology. This is evidence-backed, everyone. And it showed that higher emotional intelligence scores predicted more successful management of workplace relationships and better leadership skills. It also showed that higher emotional intelligence will improve life satisfaction, academic achievement, and income. Travis Bradbury also conducted research based on that last outcome of income. So they had this emotional intelligence appraisal test. This will measure your EQ, and they took 42,000 or a bit more than 42,000 people's EQs and annual income scores to make this graph. And as you can see, as the EQ goes up, annual income goes up too. On average, every point increase in emotional intelligence add 1,300 to an annual salary. So even moving up your emotional intelligence by 1 could increase your annual salary by 1,300. That is just part of it. Was money or income one of your important things that you wanted to change? I'll be lying if I didn't say it's important. I think money is very important. There's actually so many other studies. This class will last for a very long time, but I can list out some things for you. Healthy professional life, which can include successful management of workplace relationships, getting a higher income, getting promotions. And then there is healthy life in school, which includes academic achievements, being able to socialize and build connections with your fellow students. It talks about improved well-being, reducing stress, have more peace, be more resilient, and have a bit more comfort in the way you live life. It improves relationship quality. So I talked about work colleagues, but improves relationships with friends, with strangers, with your loved ones, with family. The good thing that I think is really important as well is being a role model to other people around you. If you're a parent, if you're a teacher, if you're a doctor, like me, being able to have high emotional intelligence will make you a better role model and can help others too, and reduce susceptibility of disease, and it improves your health overall. If there's something that I missed, or if there's something that is important in your life that I missed, let me know. I'm really interested as well. I need a little bit of tea. So now we're going to actually focus on emotional intelligence itself, EQ, and we're gonna talk about the different components. Have you ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender? It was my favorite cartoon growing up, and I've watched it all throughout my teenage years. And I didn't even know that the producers actually made that show to teach children emotional intelligence, or to deal with emotions and their social skills. But anyway, I'm talking too much about it because I love it so much. But emotional intelligence kind of reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you haven't watched it, the story basically is about this little boy Aang, and he is the avatar. So the avatar is the person who's gonna save the world. They are the only ones that can master all 4 elements and get into this avatar state and save all the 4 nations. So the 4 nations, which includes all the 4 elements. So Aang, who is quite immature, is very young, is a kid that has to learn and master all 4 elements to become this avatar. And in a way, it's kind of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence includes 4 skills or elements we need to master to fully develop the emotional intelligence maturity. It's a progression. Mastering the element of air, self-awareness, its ability to recognize our emotions when it happens, to be able to interpret it, and then the ability to recognize what triggers us, what doesn't trigger us. It also involves having an accurate self-assessment of who we are, what we value, what our strengths, weaknesses. It's just having this sense of self. And then the second stage, I'm gonna call this one Earth. And Earth is going to be self-regulation. It's the action that you take once you identify these emotions and triggers. When you do have emotions, how do you react? Once you're able to regulate your emotions and feelings, it can also include the skills of being flexible, being open, being motivated and disciplined, and taking initiative, being adaptive, those skills and qualities. So the next stage, I'm gonna call this water. Element of water, and that is social awareness. Social awareness is when, instead of knowing your emotions and knowing your triggers, you need to understand other people's emotions. What do you think they're feeling? Like, do you know those people that just know when someone's upset before they're even upset? They're able to understand it and be aware of it before the other person even knows. These people are very high in social awareness. Social awareness is the ability to recognize the emotions and triggers in others. Even though they don't feel the same way, even though they've never experienced other people's experiences, they are able to put themselves in other people's shoes. And the last one, after you master these three, is the final element of fire, which is relationship management. So relationship management is when it all comes together. It's the ability to maintain and build relationships. It's the ability to interact with people using all of the skills and knowledge that you know. You're just able to handle conflict, handle these negative or intense situations really effectively and admirably. These are the people that I fangirl over. This is the element that I hope to improve. But I know that I have to also develop the other aspects or the other components before I do that. It's like Ang, he really wants to learn fire because his enemy's someone from the Fire Nations, but then he always burns himself or he hurts himself because he knows that he needs to learn the importance of the other aspects before developing relationship management or being able to control the element of fire. So those are the 4 elements or the 4 abilities or skills that we need to grow and develop to have better emotional intelligence. And to make it a bit easier for us to understand, the 4 can be divided into 2 groups. The first one is personal competence. So if you can tell, it focuses on the self. So being able to be self-aware and self-regulate. And then the next part is social competence. It's being able to manage and control the emotions in others. So that is social awareness and also relationship management. And then you can also divide it in another way. It's what we see and observe, and then it's how we act. Emotional intelligence is being able to be personally competent, socially competent, and also being able to observe and see things. Be a third person, be objective, and also your actions. It's not just what you see and know and understand, it's how you take action. Like playing the guitar. Let me get my guitar. So it's like playing the guitar. I can know all the chords. I can know all the chords to play songs. I can understand how to use a capo. I know all this information. But if I know the information, does that make me a good guitar player if I don't take action or I don't play? No. So emotional intelligence and all the different elements are skills, and to develop a skill we need to take action. So that is our whistle stop tour of Emotional Intelligence 101. Before you go, we're going to discuss the homework. For each of the 4 skills, how skilled do you think you are? Write down like a percentage, or from 1 to 10, write down the score. And then do an emotional intelligence test. So I actually did 5 or 6, the free ones. So I'll put down a link of the one that I thought was more useful and incorporates the 4 different elements. I actually did the emotional appraisal test that I talked about because I bought the book, and it gives you a little code to let you do the test. The test that I did was very similar to this free test. I was actually so surprised because I thought my self-awareness was quite good. Honestly, I journal. I'm quite emotional and I tend to feel my emotions. I try to understand it, but no, it's actually quite low. And I realized after learning about that area that, okay, I get why it was low and I get what I need to do to improve it. My social awareness is actually really high, and I was surprised to see that. It's interesting to understand ourselves. And then it kind of will help you understand which of the skills or elements you need to tackle or improve, and which class is most important to you. The next 4 classes is going to tackle each element. I'm going to take you on this journey to become the avatar. I'll see you in the next episode. I'm really excited for it. We're going to learn how to master the element of air and bend air. So that'll be fun. See you in the next class. Make sure to do your homework. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!